The desert sun beat down on the shooting range. Dust hung in the air, the heat shimmering like a cruel spotlight. "Target up!" the instructor barked. A line of recruits raised their rifles in unison. All but one. Her hands shook as she gripped her weapon. Sweat rolled down her temple. The trigger snapped, crack, but the round missed its mark. Snickers erupted down the line. "Seriously, Martinez? Again?" A tall recruit muttered loud enough for the others to hear. "It's like she's allergic to the target." Laughter rippled. She fired again. Missed. Again. Missed. The steel target mocked her with silence. By the fifth attempt, one of the recruits leaned over and whispered, "Maybe she thought this was cooking class, not the Navy." Even the instructor, a battle-hardened SEAL veteran, crossed his arms, silent. His jaw tightened. His shadow loomed like judgment itself. Another miss. Her chest tightened. Shame burned hotter than the sun. She tried to steady her breath. "Come on, Maria. Focus. You've trained for this. Don't let them see you break." But the harder she tried, the worse it got. The dust blurred her vision. The laughter cut like knives. She lowered her rifle, defeated. And then, the silence broke. The SEAL instructor raised his hand. Slowly. Deliberately. Every recruit's head turned. His eyes locked on hers, unreadable. "Martinez," he said, voice low, carrying the weight of finality. "Front and center. Now." The recruits froze. She swallowed hard, her boots crunching in the sand as she stepped forward. What came next would change everything. Maria Martinez had grown up invisible. The youngest of four in a small Texas town, she was the quiet one, the one teachers forgot to call on, the one who blended into the back row. Her brothers excelled in football. Her sister was crowned homecoming queen. Maria? She washed dishes in silence, scribbled drawings in the margins of old notebooks, and dreamed of something bigger. Her father, a mechanic with calloused hands, once said, "Mija, dignity isn't in being the loudest in the room. It's in standing when it matters most." But when he passed suddenly, Maria felt the world collapse inward. The house grew quieter. So did she. Joining the Navy wasn't about proving herself, it was about survival. A chance to step outside the shadow of her family's small-town expectations. Yet every day in training, her silence became a target. "Martinez, you're too soft. Martinez, you don't belong here. Martinez, you'll quit by next week." The words piled up like stones. She never fought back. Never lashed out. She just endured. But behind her quiet eyes lay something the others couldn't see. A memory. Her father teaching her how to hold an old hunting rifle on a windy Texas afternoon. Her shots had always gone wide until he said, "Stop fighting the wind. Feel it. Breathe with it." She had hit the dead center. And smiled for the first time in weeks. Now, standing in front of the SEAL instructor with the entire platoon watching, that memory clung to her chest. "Martinez," he said, pacing around her. "You've missed every shot today. Do you know what that means?" Her lips parted, but no words came. "It means," he continued, "you're about to learn something the rest of them never will." The recruits shifted, confused. He leaned in close, his voice low enough only she could hear. "Dignity isn't about never missing. It's about what you do after." Her pulse thundered. His words burrowed deep. The test wasn't over. It hadn't even begun. The days that followed blurred with drills, sweat, and ridicule. Every missed shot drew whispers. Every stumble was ammunition for the others' pride. Maria became the platoon's punchline. But something had shifted. She began listening, not to the recruits, but to the world around her. The wind cutting across the range. The rhythm of her own breathing. The way her boots sank differently in sand than in gravel. At night, while others slept, she practiced. Not with bullets, but with presence. She would shoulder her rifle, close her eyes, and breathe until the tremors in her hands faded. The instructor watched, though he never spoke. Then came the long march. 50 pounds of gear, blistering sun, an endless terrain. Recruits grumbled, cursed, and snapped at each other. Maria stayed silent. She carried her weight, step by step, even helping another recruit who had stumbled from heat exhaustion. "Why help him?" another sneered. "He's competition." But Maria only looked at the horizon and said nothing. By the time they reached camp, she collapsed into the dirt. Exhausted, yes. Broken, no. The instructor passed by. For a split second, their eyes met. And though he said nothing, there was a flicker there. Recognition. The range test loomed again. Everyone knew it. This time, Maria would either prove herself, or confirm their mockery forever. Her hands no longer trembled when she held the rifle. She thought of her father. The wind. The breath. The dignity in standing when it mattered most. She exhaled. The target rose. The final range test arrived. Recruits lined up, rifles ready. Tension thickened like storm clouds. "Fire!" Cracks of rifles split the air. One by one, targets dropped. Maria lifted hers, sighting the steel silhouette in the distance. Her breath slowed. She felt the wind brush across her cheek. Exhale. Squeeze. The shot rang out. Clang. The target dropped. For a moment, silence. Then murmurs. She fired again. Clang. Again. Clang. 6 shots, 6 hits. Each one louder than laughter, sharper than doubt. The recruits' smirks faltered, replaced by disbelief. The same voices that had mocked her now stood mute. And then, the SEAL instructor raised his hand. Not to silence, not to scold, but to signal. "Platoon," he said, voice carrying across the range. "Remember this. Strength isn't the loudest voice, or the first to boast. It's the one who refuses to fall when the world calls them weak." He nodded at Maria. "That's dignity. That's what it looks like." Her chest swelled, not with pride, but with something steadier. A quiet truth. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. The ripple spread. The recruits looked at her differently, not with mockery, but with respect. Some even nodded. Later that night, Maria sat alone under the stars, the rifle resting by her side. She thought of her father's words, of the laughter, of the silence that had followed. She hadn't become louder. She hadn't changed who she was. She had simply stood when it mattered. And in that, she had found what she had always carried within: dignity, waiting to be seen. Ending reflection, signature to dignity defended.